So I think I've heard this line way too much when talking to 21 Hanako-kun fans about Sakura. Like, Sakura is dead. Sakura is a supernatural. She's a ghost. She must be a doll. But I've never heard someone say, guys, you need to chill. Sakura is human. So, I'll say it for you. Sakura is human. There's way too much evidence that points to this fact, and people tend just to brush over it, and I've gotten really tired of re-explaining myself, so I thought I'd address it in a video.
So this is going to be a bit of a different one because Kathy and I actually stand on separate sides of this argument. Personally, I have always thought that Sakura is not entirely human, that there's something supernatural about her, and we have argued about this multiple times before, and when it comes down to it, Kathy has had the stronger arguments, so in honor of that, we're going to tackle this theory from her perspective.
Thank you. No, Sakura is a mysterious character, so no one can really blame you if you believe that she's more likely to be a school wonder herself than an actual human. But in this video today, I hope to change your mind or at least get your brain gears turning. Before I talk about Sakura herself though, I'd like to set up a strong, long premise, and that premise mostly speaks about Tsukasa. And it's quite a lot of new information. You've probably never heard this before, so please fasten up.
So one of the main reasons why many believe Sakura to be dead is because Tsukasa has proclaimed himself to be a supernatural that grants wishes for those on the far shore. Since Sakura had her wish granted by Tsukasa, then she must have been dead in order for this to happen in the first place, right?
But first you should think to yourself, is Tsukasa really limited to doing so? Is almighty Tsukasa really limited at all? Tsukasa is an extremely powerful spirit and can pretty much do whatever the hell he wants. He's a rule breaker, one who breaks God's rules simply because he believes those rules are better off broken. This includes the breakage of his own rumor. But how is he able to break his own rumor? By granting wishes for both the living and the dead. A better question to ask is, why would he choose not to? I want you guys to take a second to analyze who Tsukasa really is. What is he? A child, basically. Now, if you are a child and you've been dormant for the past 50 years, and only just now being able to move around on the nearshore, wouldn't you want to have some fun? And what better way to have fun than to declare yourself your big brothers, who you're also obsessed with, nemesis, and do everything your brother does, but only in the opposite way. No one told Tsukasa that he's Hanako's nemesis. He gave himself this role. So, this is why Tsukasa grants wishes for the dead, because Hanako grants wishes for the living.
But nothing specifically talks about Hanako-san granting wishes for the living either, so this is where we'll talk about the true purpose of Tsukasa's rumor and how it exploits this ambiguity in Hanako's rumor. I've never heard of a Hanako-san for the dead, have you?
Nope.
And yet this is exactly what Tsukasa is, although there is absolutely no reason for this rumor to exist in the first place. Remember what Hanako-san is. This is a God-given role and associated rumor needed to keep Hanako-san bounded to the nearshore so that Hanako-san can protect the students. Why do you need a Hanako-san for the dead when they would only be useful on the far shore? Unless this rumor was invented by Sakura and company as a means to help Tsukasa have a stable existence on the nearshore. Remember, Tsukasa wasn't able to move around on the nearshore well when we first met him. He started out as a black crane, moving on to taking form but being defeated by T on the rooftop, to how he is now. He also said something about not being able to move around properly when Nini T'd him. The progressive improvement is due to his Hanako-san of the Dead rumor taking root on the nearshore through Hanako-san's original rumor. Basically, no one needs to know of Hanako-san of the Dead. Tsukasa is just exploiting this as a way of existing on the nearshore.
So yes, remember that time we were talking about Sakura, guys? I didn't forget, but I felt I needed to clarify lots of things before actually arguing for Sakura being a human being. If there's one thing I hope you gathered from the premise is that you don't need to be dead in order for Tsukasa to grant your wishes. Therefore, it is not a necessary condition for Sakura to be dead or supernatural. So, how would they have met in the first place if not on the nearshore? Sakura shouldn't be able to see supernaturals if she is indeed human, so how would they be able to interact with each other in the first place? Well, to answer the first question, they wouldn't have met on the far shore. If you subscribe to the theory that Tsukasa is Hanako's Yorishiro, then he should be present in number 7's boundary. Granted, he would still have difficulty going on the nearshore if he doesn't have a rumor to tie him there. We also know that humans are capable of going into boundaries without much harm coming to them, so Sakura could have met Tsukasa in a boundary. Don't get me wrong, this boundary doesn't necessarily have to be Hanako's boundary either. We see Sakura reading a book called Boundaries in Cities, meaning she's aware that boundaries can be outside of the school, and Tsukasa does seem to have easy access to the boundary rift for some reason. Then, we also have to keep in mind that Tsukasa is connected to the Red House, and since we know that Sakura had a wish she wanted fulfilled, then the Red House could have been drawn to her desires. They could have just met then and there.
Another argument often brought up by people to argue for Sakura being supernatural is that, in theory, only a person with strong supernatural ties or someone who is close to death should be able to make a contract with a wonder. But this isn't strictly true, and we know this because we have Akane. As far as we know, Akane had no supernatural ties before making his contract. Teru even made a passing comment indicating that Akane couldn't see supernaturals at all before he became number 1. And since this contract was made several years before the start of the story, he most certainly wasn't close to death. So clearly, the rule we were given doesn't apply to Akane. Something else is at play here, and if that's true for him, it could just as easily be true for Sakura.
The main argument I want to bring up as to why I believe Sakura is a human is simple. Because she said it herself. Now, when I state this point, the usual response is that she could be lying. But why would she though? The only one we really see lying in this series is Hanako-kun, and even when he lies, he has a good reason to do so. But that aside, think about it this way. Sakura and Tsukasa have a master-servant relationship, and Sakura decided to delay her master's orders to sabotage Nene so that she could speak to Nene, who she wholeheartedly relates to because Nene is bonded to Hanako-san and human. Emphasis on the word human. They basically wanted to have girls talk, and many of you guys wanted to write this off as Sakura being a liar. No, she's pretty genuine, and that is why she gave Tsukasa that terrible look of horror when he was ready to send Nene to the boundary rift.
None of this is to say that the arguments supporting the idea that Sakura is dead or supernatural are invalid or wrong, but we can pick apart every one of these arguments, and the evidence supporting the idea that she's human is just as strong. Which is probably why I can't win this argument no matter how I try. And believe me, I tried. You win this round, Kathy, but my time will come!
Well then, hopefully we gave you a few more things to think about. And some of you may start to consider that Sakura is actually a regular human being.
We'll see you next time!
And thanks for stopping by.